Hello and welcome back, my loyal subscribers, and today we have Cuniberti. So without the merit flag that I have and the permanent economic boost, it gets pretty meager. Now 5% to credits, 10% to ship XP, 25 to commander XP, and then 50 with a clan. Without the merit flag, that drops even more. Armor-wise, 19mm armor everywhere, and then the 13mm superstructure. Not much. Standard. Health-wise, 19,500. Main battery, she gets 6 dual mount. She gets, 3 dual mount 120 guns, which are actually very decent. 6-second reload. Without gun feeder, it's a minimum 6-second switch. 180 is 13 seconds. 74 max dispersion. 8.6 kilometer range. That's the painful part about the Italians. The short range. But if you can learn to work with it, you will do really well. Max HE damage is 1700, 7% of fire, 20mm armor pin, and 950 velocity. The SAP shells, 2850, 34 armor pin, and 950 velocity. The SAP shells are your bread and butter. If you can get broadside DDs and be top tier or be an ops and run into a purely op with destroyers, you're going to wreck face with your SAP. The Torps, not that bad. So we'll zoom in on them for you. They're 3 Torp tubes of each, so you get 6. 10 kilometer range, 56 knots. 6-second 180. 1 minute and 10 seconds for a reload. 10,000 max damage, and they have a 1.1 detectability range. So, not the best. Depth charges, 3,200 max damage. You get 2 bombs, 10 in a charge, and 40 seconds. So, really decent. Again, if you can get the sub. AA-wise, yeah, nothing. There ain't nothing there. So, the AA, we'll just hover over continuous. Yeah, you can just look at that and see, like, you're gonna be CV food. Very CV food. Maneuverability, actually, this is where it gets actually very impressive. 39 knots. 650 meter turning circle. And a 3.1 rudder shift. Actually very decent. Concealment, 7.4. Very decent. And that's without concealment expert also. Now, for the build, well, I do main battery, main armaments basically, engine room protection, aiming system, steering gears, and concealment. Again, since I did grind this ship, I have most of it maxed out, so you'll get to see what it mostly works fully maxed out. Now, this is what I would do to maximize your grind. You don't need the torpedoes. Again, if you really like the ship and you want to, you can, but it adds 20 seconds to your reload. So the torps aren't really necessary. Just get the extra range first, and then the hull. And you'll then go on to the Adriatico. That's basically it. Now, you get standard-wise, without any superintendent or anything, 3 charges of smoke, exhaust smoke, and 6 charges of emergency engine boost, which is very helpful to get out of desperate situations. Now, being only 6 points, this is the build, preventative maintenance, last stand, survivability expert. For 13, it's very standardized, concealment, and adrenaline rush. 16, superintendent. And then after that, you want to go main battery A specialist. After that, you'd have 2 points left. After that, I would go with incoming fire alert, and that would be it. That would be how I would run my tier 10. That's the build I would run, maximizing the ability of ambush and main battery range. But that's how I would run it. Now, in terms of exterior wise, that's what it would look like if you bought it. It's actually not bad. It's not a bad looking camel, but since it's cosmetic anymore, well, just run the ship naked. There's no point to buy camels anymore, unless you get it during the early access. That's the only other exception. But let's get into the replay and we'll show you how Cuniberti does it. Hello and welcome back to the Cuniberti gameplay, folks. So we're on Cherry Blossom, which is typically a battleship and cruiser map. Not a good map for a DD, unless you know how to play it. Now, we are teamed up with Implacable, Zaitan, Anhalt, Megami, Akatsuki, and a Sims. I'm in the Cuniberti, Cap's in the Sims. Now, interesting point, I'm only running a 6-point, like you know, I'm already running a 6-point captain. Cap's only running a 4-point captain. You heard me correctly, 4 points on that Sims. So we're running very low skill captains in terms of like just everything. I mean, they're typical DDs skills, but in terms of what you would need to make the ship work, they're very limited. But you're going to see how the Cuniberti does. I really did enjoy the Cuniberti when I ground her through ops. I really did enjoy that ship. The only downside about her is, like I've mentioned, is the range on this ship, which is really bad, like horrendously bad. It like 8.6, yeah. So it's incredibly terrible. And you see that yes, it does have a pretty good amount of fire rate, like almost like American DD rate, and the fact that it gets like 3 dual guns is comforting. It's a very comfortable destroyer. It doesn't look like I'm doing that well. I'm only up to about 11,000 after this DD goes bye-bye. So it's going to be a hard match to get on top. Because, like I said, Cherry Blossom is typically a battleship and cruiser map. Especially if they know what they're doing, you can basically take damage from everybody. But if you know what you're doing, it's super easy. Now, as you know, we usually have sometimes gone up through the north and done the cruiser spawn. But when I'm this far south, I just go into the port. But I do it in a different way than going into the port. Like, I don't take the traditional route of going all the way up, you know, the G line and then swinging up. I take more the, well, as you can see, I take the G6 line and then head diagonal to it. That's kind of like what I like to do. It puts me in a good position to intercept, well, practically everything that is critical. But I want you to also pay attention to my team in this match too. I want you to look at Cap also. Because the end screen will very much surprise you. And I will give you Cap's score at the very end. And it shows you that you don't need to be top tier to do good. You really don't. You just got to know what you're doing. Again, I move in, drop Torps on both DDs. I have SAP loaded because SAP on DDs works really well. And you just see that we're doing 4K. Another 4K, and we're basically just wrecking these DDs. Don't ask me where that shot went. I really don't know where that salvo went. We get Hydro, it's unfortunate, but we'll make do. Our other Torps are out. Again, don't ask me how or why those Torps are like that, but 2 of them hit, and we pick up the Hatsuharu. And I'm lucky that they did pick up the Yuhagi, or the Mogami, and then picked up the Yuhagi. That was very comforting. But it's literally just rushing in, and you basically spot everything, and you basically kill everything. It's super easy. And you'll see it when you know what you're doing, and you're, well, let's be honest, an above average op player, you can make a lot of ridiculous stuff happen. Now, I know I'm detected. So that tells me that the DDs are both north. And the ones north of me haven't spawned. So yeah, it's the southern DDs that are coming back up. I load HE because bow on, SAP doesn't work, it bounces. So I have to basically get broadside onto the DD to use SAP. I pop my emergency boost because without it, odds are I wouldn't been able to clear that Torp. It's a tactical one, but it's worth it. Now, we do pick up the Fubuki with SAP. And we're at 40,000. We're detected again, so that tells us that the DD's above us. Now, we've spotted the farthest one, but we drop Torps on him, and then we switch back, because the other one's broadside, and we can just sap it to death. We pick it up for 7,000, and we do a significant amount of damage to that other one. Once you get the range on these DDs with this sap, it just wrecks them. That was about 30-some hundred. 1,800. It's small amounts, but like you'll see, it all adds up. And it's going to be significantly different. And, well, you think, well, you know I've done the funny in Massachusetts. We're going to do a similar one in the DD. But the only thing I'm after is my natural selection. I've killed 3 DDs. I want 1 more DD to pick up my natural selection. So that's why I'm pushing it, is to go for my natural selection. Now, you did see that the Mogami pushed all the way in there and, well, lost 2/3 of his health. You see our Akatsuki, the pink one is smoked up. And, well, yeah. We are going to take a Torp from this, though. Had I probably slowed down and throttled, I could have avoided that Torp. So that's on my bad. As you all know, I do like to push myself to the limits. I do incredibly stupid stuff and very unorthodox stuff in ops. I do that because I'm not a fan of playing the traditional way no more. I like to take unorthodox tactics and try to push myself to become a better op player. And if I push and if it succeeds, I perfect it and I do a better and I keep changing it. Now see that DD, the Akatsuki is shooting AP at a DD at point blank range. Point blank range, watch his shells. I'm shooting SAP, there's AP. There's only one thing in range that shoots AP. I don't know why he was shooting AP. And I pick up my natural selection. He could have killed that easily, but he didn't. Now see, the Akatsuki turns back in and I'm able to just sap it to death. But you see, that is a lot of Torps. Shiriachu's just backing up. That's a lot of Torps. a very lot of Torps. I know I pulled this off in a Noland in a split, but to pull it off in a Cuniberti is like, whew. Now I do pop my exhaust smoke because I can use that. Reduces my detection and it allows me to just spam at this close range. Now, at that range, you know, the DDs are turning broadside and they're just going to eat pure SAP damage at this point. Akatsuki picks that kill up, but I do the majority of the damage of it to it. So he just gets, you know, pity XP at that point. I'm literally charging in here with 9,000 health, just sapping everything to death. So it's like, what the hell? Cap's also pushing in with me too. He's on the other side. The Akatsuki does go down, but as you did see, he was super low. Ogami picks that one up. Again, they were shooting AP for some reason. Cap picks up his natural selection, so kudos to Cap. And as it seems, we're both at 9 kills now. Together at 9 kills. Not as close as our Massachusetts games are, where we're usually steal killing and just securing everything, but still pretty decent. As you can see, the majority of my damage has literally been nothing but destroyers. Same with Cap. All of his damage has been to destroyers. As you always know, I always say destroyer damage equals big payoff. And if you're a DD in Cherry Blossom, you've got to take advantage of that DD damage. I'm still angled just enough so I know I can get my sap shells in. It's just getting it at that angle. We pick up Shuriatsu. We crossed 118k, and we're just literally just pushing in at this point and catching these guys broadside with sap. 2600. It's just little tiny chunks, but when you add that up consistently, it really starts to make a huge difference. And Holt comes in, but we do get a 4,300k salvo on him before Anholt picks him up. So that's a pretty hefty bit of damage. We load HE because we're way too angled at this point to really do anything. And we knock out his engine and his torpedo tubes. Then we get more broadside and we switch back to SAP. And you see 4,400, he just goes down. Then Cap picks that DD up. The SAP just kills it significantly fast. We're like wondering, does SAP work on these? And I'm like, yep, SAP works on these things. So we're like, well, let's pick up these 2 AA batteries while we're at it. I drop Torps in hopes of getting it down. Switch back to the AA module and pick up that one. Unfortunately, we weren't able to pick up the Aoba. Now, as you can see, 127.5k damage. You know, 4,500, 500 free XP, natural selection, C-star, assistant, 300k in credits, not terrible, 6 kills. But then let's go to the base XP. 1,700 base XP. Zeiton second. Cap only picked up like 40,000 or 80,000. It was 40,000 to 80,000, but I'm pretty sure it was like 40,000 in DD damage. He's third on the team. With the tier 7, he gets that extra boost. So between the two of us, we're in DDs. We beat battleships and a cruiser, and a purely cruiser and battleship up. That's hard to do. Now, in terms of damage, 12,000 to Hatsu, 12,000 to Shira, 10,000 to Shira, 9,500 to Fubuki, 6,000 to Shira, 4,000 to Aki, 10,000 to Shira, 9,500 to Shira, 9,000 to Shira, 8,000 to Shira, 7,500 to Kagero, 7,000 to Kagero, 7,000 to Hatsu, 6,000 to Hatsu, 5,000 to Shira, and then 2,000 to basically Hatsu and 1,000 to Shira. It was literally nothing but destroyers. All my damage was literally just pure destroyer damage. Like I'm always saying, destroyer damage equals big pay. That's why destroyer damage equals big pay. Now, in terms of damage taken, it was mostly spread evenly across the board. It was the Fubuki and the Kagero that did most of the damage. And then we took that aerial torpedo. Floods and fires, maybe a mere 100. So we were able to mitigate that. In terms of profit-wise, we still made, with everything, without an economic boost package, we still made 200,000. 250K. That's still a pretty good profit for a non-booster, non-everything. That's still really good. And then just the XP, free XP, not too bad. It's average. And just average in Commander XP. But the credits was actually very surprising. That was actually a very decent profit. Now again, I always highly recommend getting a premium account. Premium accounts are one thing in World of Warships that you can't go without. Let's be honest. If you're not running a premium account, you're losing significant amounts of XP. Because you can see, look at the amount that I would have gained without it. That's like 1,800 difference. And over 100,000 difference in terms of credits. That's a huge amount. It really adds up. But that is the Cuniberti review, folks.